Thank you very much. A lot of rich people in this audience. I'm looking left, right, center, all the way in the back. They're rich too. But I'm thrilled to be back with so many friends and partners, leaders and innovators here at the Future Investment Initiative. And it's really a great group of people, very smart group of people. They know what's happening in the world. It's my second address to the conference as President of the United States, and it's my honor to be here. Thank you very much. As you know, we're gathered at a moment of bold action and historic decision to make America and our allies safer and stronger, more prosperous, more successful than ever before. And that's what's happening. Tonight, we're closer than ever to the rise of the Middle East that is finally free at last from Iranian terror, aggression, and nuclear blackmail. That's what's happened. It was nuclear blackmail for years and years. And beyond that, it was blackmail, period. Under my leadership, America is ending the threat posed by this radical regime, decimating Iran's capabilities with Operation Epic Fury, something that nobody's ever seen anything quite like it. We have the most powerful military in the world by far. I built it in my first term. Remember, I said $1 trillion. They all said, what do you mean $1 trillion? $1 trillion. Every year, another trillion the next, another trillion. We have the best people. We have by far the best equipment. We have weapons that nobody's ever seen before. We have weapons that nobody even knows about, except for a few of us. For 47 years, Iran has been known as the bully of the Middle East, but they are not the bully any longer. They're on the run. Last June, America's armed forces obliterated Iran's key nuclear facilities in one of the most spectacular military actions of all time. Nobody has ever seen anything like it. In the dead of night, no moon, 1 o'clock in the morning, we went in. It was called Operation Midnight Hammer. And every single one of those bombs hit their mark. Air shafts. They will never build an air shaft again, I promise you that. They went right down that granite mountain through air shafts. Most incredible technology you've ever seen, that a thing like that. And it was decimation, it was obliteration. One of the networks said, well, maybe it wasn't that bad. It was that bad. It turned out to be even more than we thought. But after that attack, the Iranian lunatics refused to cease their pursuit of nuclear weapons. And I have to say, before that, Barack Hussein Obama, did you ever hear of him? Barack Hussein Obama, he had the Iran nuclear deal. He went to Iran. He paid him. Remember, he sent two Boeing 757 jetliners. They took this, haven't found a reason to do that yet, but that's big. $1.7 billion in cash. You know, there wasn't a bank in D.C., Virginia, or Maryland that had any money after that disaster. But they sent the cash to Iran, but more importantly, they signed an agreement, the Iran nuclear deal, which if I didn't terminate it in my first term, I terminated it almost immediately. If I didn't terminate it, they would have had a nuclear weapon long ago, and they would have used it on the Middle East, Israel and the Middle East. And you know the Middle East because when you look at all the missiles that got fired, UAE had 1,500 missiles shot at it. They didn't think they were going to have any. Saudi Arabia, I mean, we have the most powerful Saudis. Oh, yes, sir, you are so powerful. But Yasser, you didn't expect any missiles going to Saudi Arabia. They didn't expect them in Qatar. They didn't expect them in Kuwait, in Bahrain. The missiles rained down on you. They were going to hit you with nuclear or whatever they had. But we stopped it. We stopped it. We stopped it with him. And then there was a big moment also in my first administration when I took out Soleimani. And a lot of people think that might have been the biggest thing of all because he was a mad genius. He was a vicious, horrible human being, but he was a great general and a great leader, if you define a leader in a certain way, very, very powerful leader. In fact, he was so powerful that I really think that the leadership of Iran was extremely happy when I took him out, but they don't say that, but nobody's going to be asking him anymore because they're not here either. But getting the termination and terminating the Iran nuclear deal that was done by Biden and Obama, I would say mostly Obama. Actually, I don't think Biden knew where he was then, too. He had no idea. If you said to him, the Iran nuclear, what's that? But there was 4 years of hell we had with this guy as our leader, I'll tell you. And then we hit him with the B-2 bomber, so we did it twice. But if they would have had a nuclear weapon, it would have been a whole big deal, and I wouldn't be here right now, and probably you guys wouldn't be too happy. You might be in an area, who knows where you would have been. But we did it twice. And I really believe we saved the Middle East. We saved not just Israel, we saved the Middle East. And it was proven by all those rockets that fired down upon you. Saudi Arabia got hit a lot. You all got hit, and nobody expected any missiles to be wasted. You would have thought they were only going at Israel. They weren't. As President of the United States, I would never allow the world's #1 state sponsor of terror to obtain a nuclear weapon. I said that for a long time. And I didn't. To defend America and our allies over the past 27 days, the U.S. Armed Forces, most powerful in the world, have been annihilating Iran's military capacity with force, precision, skill like the world has never seen. It was violence, actually, really violence. We're crushing Iran's currently, as we speak. I just looked. We had another big day. We hit them. They don't know what's happening. Remember this. They lied about 3 days ago. I said, yeah, we're negotiating with Israel. We are not negotiating. They're being hit so hard, anybody would be negotiating. They are negotiating. They're begging to make a deal. They're begging to make a deal. Turned out I was right. They were negotiating, which they admitted 2 days later. And in order to make up for their misstatement, they said, we're going to send you 8 ships of oil. And the following day I saw, this is 2 days ago, I saw on one of the networks, very strange, there were 8 ships of oil coming out of Iran. And then they actually said, we're going to add an extra 2. And they added an extra 2, so we had 10 ships. And then people realized we were actually negotiating. And we're negotiating now, and it'd be great if we could do something, but they have to open it up. They have to open up the Strait of Hormuz. Excuse me for this. I'm so sorry. Such a terrible mistake. The fake news will say, he accidentally said, no. There's no accidents with me, not too many. If there were, we'd have a major story. No, well, we had that with the Gulf of Mexico. Remember? And one day I said, why is it the Gulf of Mexico? We have 92% of the area around it. They have 8%, really less than 8%. But for 350 years, it was called, they were there 100 years longer than us, Mexico. They were 250. And I said, I've often asked myself, why do we call it the Gulf of Mexico? It seems like we dominate. Well, when I checked, it was more than 92%. So I announced, I wouldn't say Mexico was thrilled, but I announced that from now on, the Gulf of Mexico is going to be called the Gulf of America. And it took about 1 hour, and it was done. The president called me. She's really a nice person, too. I like her a lot. She called up. She had the most beautiful voice. She's a very elegant woman, has a beautiful, beautiful voice. She goes, President, tell me, this is not so. No, it's so. Oh, it's so. And then Google Maps changed it. We won the court case in about 1 hour, and Google Maps changed the name. And it's now the Gulf of America, which it should be, in all fairness. We're crushing Iran's weapons stockpiles, destroying their missiles and drone factories at levels nobody ever thought was possible, and turning their defense industrial base into nothing. Iran's navy is gone. It's all sunk at the bottom of the Gulf and elsewhere. Did you see the attack submarine that we have, went after one of their boats? It was called the Soleimani. It was the pride of their fleet. But this attack submarine goes like 60 miles an hour. I'd never saw anything. And it caught them in about 2 minutes. And that was the end of the Soleimani. Now, then they're 100% dead. They have 22 mine droppers. They call them mine droppers. And the mine droppers, 22, all 22 are gone. So I guess they can drop mines, but they're going to have to take them out by a rowboat because they don't have any boats. Their Air Force is dead, totally, completely dead. It's out of business. No planes left at all. Their anti-aircraft and communications capabilities are totally dismantled and dead. And their leaders are all dead. Other than that, I think they're doing quite well. No, their leaders are dead. Their supreme leader is no longer supreme. He's dead. The son is either dead or in very bad shape because nobody's heard from him. I think he says, just keep me out of this. This is the only country where nobody wants to lead. There's nobody. Who would like to lead Iran? Please raise your hand, a big audience of distinguished. Who would like to be our leader? Dead silent. Nobody wants to lead. Now, we have an amazing military. We have the greatest intelligence apparatus that anybody's ever seen. We can tell you everything that's going on. We know everything that's going on. We're achieving each and every one of the military objectives I laid out less than 4 weeks ago. And we're doing it really, I guess, we're 2 weeks ahead of schedule. We're not into it very long. We wouldn't have thought we would have been. We knew it was going to be easy. We call it a military operation. We don't call it a war. We call it a military operation. We're very disappointed, by the way, with NATO. They didn't come to our aid. I didn't try too hard, actually, because I wanted to prove a point. I didn't sell. They probably think I'm a lousy salesman. I said, would you like to help us? To President of France, Macron, nice guy. He is a nice guy. I said, Emmanuel, would you like to help? Yes. As soon as the war is over, we will send ships. I said, no. I don't want them when the war is over. I want them before we start. And UK, our longest ally, nobody ever thought this was possible. I said to the Prime Minister, Mr. Prime Minister, we'd like you to have 2 aircraft carriers. They're little ones. They're not very good. I know they don't go fast, and I know they don't work very well, but we could probably use them maybe for helicopters. And they said, yes, we are preparing them. I see, when will they be ready? Maybe in a month or 2. Oh, great, that's wonderful. I said, are you going to help us? Yes, we're going to help you when the war is finished. We will be there. This is NATO. And I've always said NATO's a paper tiger. And I've always said we help NATO, but they'll never help us. And if the big one ever happened, and I don't think it will, but if the big one ever happened, I guarantee you they wouldn't be there. And we learned from that. And remember what I said, because they made a big mistake. They were not there. The Chancellor of Germany, these are all friends of mine, Friedrich, the Chancellor of Germany, he said, this is not our war. We have nothing to do. Well, Ukraine's not our war, but we help them. I wouldn't have had to help. If I were president, that war would have never happened. But we had a man of a very low IQ as president, and he had no idea what the hell he was. I was listening to him talk. I said, he's forcing an issue that's going to be trouble, and it turned out to be trouble. Last week, 28,000 soldiers died. The week before that, 32,000 soldiers died. I think we're going to get it settled, but it's a terrible thing. Worse since World War II. I settled 8 wars. And this should have been one of the easier ones, but the hatred between President Putin and President Zelensky is extreme. Never good. Hatred's a bad thing when you're trying to settle a war. I want to thank the entire kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Been very helpful, unlike NATO. Saudi Arabia fought, Qatar fought, UAE fought, Bahrain fought, and Kuwait fought, even though they shot down 3 of our planes with the finest missiles. We could have done without that. They didn't know they were our planes. They wasted 3 great Patriot missiles, and you have to say there's nothing like these Patriots. We had an attack of 101 a few days ago. 101 missiles shot at a very valuable thing that we had floating on the water, namely an aircraft carrier, biggest in the world. And spread out all over the sea. Pretty amazing. That's called incredible technology, right, Steve? That's called great tech. Now think of it, 101 missiles going 2,500 miles an hour. You don't have a lot of time. And these aren't necessarily weightlifting shoulders. These are very smart people doing that. And I watched them. I watched their performance. Missiles launched. It's almost like they're bored by it. They have like 9 seconds ahead of FIFA, the most powerful man in sports. Johnny, you never choked, right? These guys can't choke, but they're very smart. High IQs. We need high IQs. We have too many low IQ people. But what happened is, you have to see it. It's very cool. Missiles launched, missiles launching. They're launching. Okay, we're ready. 101 missiles coming at them. All right, we have to have like 11 seconds to make a determination. And then at 7 seconds, fire. It's the most unbelievable thing. Fire, boom. One at a time, just knocked them out like they were nothing. Genius. It's like unbelievable. I mean, to think and we have the technology nobody has. Look at what happened in Venezuela. They had other equipment, not ours. They made the mistake of using other equipment. Didn't work too well. And Venezuela took 45 minutes. It was a 45-minute war. This one's bigger. It's a bigger country, a lot more powerful. It's a lot more powerful, but it's not powerful anymore. Within 2 days, I think the damage was done, but now it's really done. Now we're just going after targets, and they have no anti-aircraft, so we're just floating over the top looking for whatever we want, and we're hitting it, and we have another 3,554 targets left. And that'll be done pretty quickly. And then at some point, we're going to have to determine what we do. But they've never seen anything like it. When we hit Venezuela, that's a very strong military country. They have soldiers. If you've ever been there, I've been there. They have a lot of soldiers walking around all over the place. Everyone's a soldier. Very military kind of a place. And there was a professional general, really good. And he said, we were all set for him. We knew there was a problem when we noticed at 1 o'clock in the morning, every 32 seconds, another airplane, a very fast plane, was coming off the deck of an aircraft carrier. That's actually the biggest aircraft carrier in the world. And every 32 seconds, boom. And it was 1 o'clock in the morning. So we said, okay, I think we're in trouble. But they were ready for us, Johnny. And we were ready. He said, we were ready. And then they hit us, and they came from 17 different angles. They were here, they were there. We ran for our lives. It was over. And it was over. And then we took this guy who was a very bad guy, and within literally minutes, he was in the back of a helicopter in a house that was in a big military base with thousands and thousands of soldiers. The house was all steel, with steel doors, steel everything. They had the small steel doors, the big doors. We were equipped for anything. Even the big one would have been opened within 30 seconds. They walked in with blow torches. And within minutes, he was out of the house, being thrown into the helicopter, sailing away. And the soldiers just looked. Bye. Enjoy your trip, sir. It was amazing. It was but this is more amazing what's happening now, because we took a very strong country. I could see the problem you would have had. I mean, this was not a weak country. This was a strong country. They had over 10,000 missiles that they accumulated since October 2nd, if you think. Since the B-2s, they accumulated them in a matter of months, 6 months. But they had well over 10,000. They had rocket launchers. Rocket launchers are more important than the rockets. Because you take a rocket launcher out, that's the end of that. People think you can take those big rockets and throw them out your window, like when you were a child with the paper airplanes. You said, it doesn't work that way. You need those launchers, and we knocked out 97% of the launchers. That's why you may be attacked, but you're not being attacked with very heavy numbers of missiles like at the beginning. But in particular, I want to thank my friend, the Crown Prince Mohammed, who is a fantastic man and a great friend of mine, and a friend of all of yours, I think. And he's a warrior. He's a warrior. He was not afraid of this country that, frankly, he should have been afraid of because they're very powerful. I want to thank Tamim, because Tamim is, these three people have been unbelievable. Tamim, and then UAE, Mohammed. These are three great people. And they were under tremendous attack, unexpected attack. And they weren't thinking this was going to happen. Nobody was. And they turned against them and really became very powerfully aligned. And they were with us, but they weren't with us very obliquely. They were with us. But I think that I have to acknowledge for their bravery, because they were being hit pretty hard. All three of them, they were being hit pretty hard. The Emir, Mohammed, you had two Mohammeds and a Tamim, and they're friends of mine. And also I have to say that Bahrain and Kuwait, they were stand up, more so than NATO, I want to say, more so than NATO. Now, they're a little closer to the action than NATO in all fairness, but very disappointed with NATO. But I wasn't disappointed with our allies in the Middle East and others. And others. We had tremendous support from countries that were not in the general area, but they were tremendously supportive. I think Turkey was fantastic, actually fantastic, and they stayed out of things that we asked them to, and he's a great leader. He's a great leader. And Indonesia was great. We had so many great, you learn who your friends are, really do. You learn who your friends are. And, but Indonesia, Turkey, and so many other countries. But the five were great. But your dear friend and my dear friend he was all man. He stood up and he wasn't scared. Maybe he was, I don't know, maybe he was, but he didn't show it. He was great, a great leader. Saudi Arabia can be very proud of because he's got a lot of titles. He's the crown prince. He's the prime minister. He's the future king. He's got about 7 other titles. I said, you have more titles than any human being on earth. He's everything. And he deserves to be because he's a winner. So I just want to thank those people. So the Middle East will be transformed, and the future of that region is I don't think it's ever looked brighter. You couldn't have, we did the Abraham Accords. I hope you're going to be getting into the Abraham Accords finally. Yeah, so will you please go back and explain? It's time now. Mohammed said, oh, yes, as soon as we do this, as soon as we do that. I said, Mohammed, we did that. Oh, yes, but we have a couple of other things. It's now time. We've now taken them out, and they are out bigly. We got to get into the Abraham Accords. And we hope all of the countries are going to be in the Abraham Accords. Now, we have some very brave countries that did it, years ago. They went in, and you know who they are, the early four, and they did a great thing in doing it, and it was great for them also economically, but it was a great thing that they did it. But I think all the Middle Eastern countries are going to be joining now. And in some cases, I would say all the Middle Eastern countries and beyond. You have people not in the Middle East that want to be members. You'll be seeing that soon. In the meantime, the conflict in Iran also makes it absolutely vital for the radical left Democrats in Congress to immediately end their dangerous shutdown of our Department of Homeland Security. People are lunatics. They sort of remind me actually a little bit of Iran. They're deranged. They're deranged Democrats. For 42 days, no border patrol. They want no protection of any kind to be given, reopening our borders and stopping all immigration enforcement in our country. They want to have our borders be open again. We took in 25 million people. Radical, lunatic Democrats let 25 million people pour across our borders like they were nothing, like they were non-existent. These people were totally unvetted.